Hi. So this is one of our other beehives that our friend gave us, so we're about ready to do our first inspections on them. I went ahead and checked everything over a bit ago and was taking off some of the winter stuff. But in the meantime, there's other things I have to do, like we use bricks on a lot of our hives to keep the wind from blowing them over. That's super helpful. And then on top of that, I really like inner covers for a lot of reasons. So inner covers are just amazing. Those things, I just am blown away by inner covers. That's my favorite thing. So, and then now I'm going to go ahead and remove the inner cover. I had removed and moved around some things before. What's super cool is these bees are really handy at building all over the place. You can see this specific beehive colony, they have built a ton of propolis. This stuff is amazing. And then they have some beeswax on here, but just talk about pretty. I mean, for real, this is really pretty. I really enjoy it. Propolis has so many healing benefits behind it. And of course, it's their bee glue, so that's super awesome. So we love propolis. Inside of here is a really cool box. This one is filled with pine shavings, and this one is used as a moisture absorbing technique, which is awesome. So it looks just like a normal box. It has a couple of dividers in between for airflow and bee traffic, and then of course the pine shavings help a ton to suck up the moisture, which is awesome. Helps prevent a lot of your mold issues. So if you can build those, make those, find those are amazing. So now I'm going to go ahead and start removing the tape on here, and you'll be able to see the inside of this beehive. So I want to show you all the elements of this beehive, what it looks like, how does all this function and everything. So right now I'm just using the only entrance they use, blowing some smoke in here. I've been having smoker issues this morning, and this afternoon. So that's kind of been a thing, but otherwise it just doesn't seem like the materials I'm using don't want to stay lit for too long. They just kind of go out. So it's probably an oxygen issue with the fire itself. So, and it wouldn't hurt if I cleaned out my smokers a bit. So that would probably help. So I'm going to go ahead and smoke underneath the hive here. I'm just going to blow some smoke under, and that'll end up, they have their screen bottom board open. So this will just give them some smoke all the way up through their chambers. So that'll be super good for them too, just in case. Better to have enough smoke than not enough. So that usually happens. I'm hopeful that they're not going to be testy or anything. Sometimes bees coming out of spring, they're just not as happy, versus other ones are just completely the opposite. They don't mind. So I was giving them some sugar syrup to see how, if they would take it. They haven't taken any of it, which means that they don't need it. This box right here has sugar from the winter with sugar cubes. So they haven't touched any of that. So that's going to be removed now because there's active pollen in everywhere. I need to clean off some of the bee frames. So on the outside of this box is some dead bees. So it's important that I clean off the dead bees so I can help them out here. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. Scrape it, clean it. They do have a pollen patty in here. I was trying to build them up to see if they needed to be built up or what they needed to do. And they haven't even touched the pollen patty. So with that being said, that was a couple weeks ago. Basically I just need to take it off because there's natural pollens that they're bringing in. So if they don't need it, they don't need it. So this is what the inside of this beehive looks like. So right here was the remnants of the pollen patty. There's some of the beeswax. I'm just going to clean all these frames up. I'm not going to touch the rest of the frames themselves, but it doesn't look like there's any bees on here. So you'll see them come in and then they go straight down. So it's probable that they're not even laying any eggs in here. The queen's not in here laying eggs is what I mean. And then of course the bees aren't in here. So I could just take all this apart, clean it, and then put it back on when they're ready, which they're just not ready for yet. So that's awesome. That was their honey super that was left in place for them to be able to have honey. So that's what that was. So that's awesome. And then now I'll go ahead and remove this box. I'm probably just going to consolidate them and leave them in one box until they're ready to move up. I mean, that would make the most sensible solution. You can tell that I cannot get a grip on this. This one is definitely glued down, so we'll see. I can't get in between. Here we go. Okay, yeah, they propolis that up really nice. I was like, okay. There goes that. I couldn't figure out why. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this honey super. There's one little half frame of bees, so they are working on it. Okay, but I don't know what they're working on the rest, so I'm not really sure. So we'll take a look-see. We'll take a look at the rest of the hive, see how they're doing. I need to smoke them a bit. So they're actually really smaller than I thought. So it looks like, yeah, This is just, I have to be honest with you. I tried a mite treatment that I didn't like, and I feel like this is what's been happening with them. So I ended up having a mite treatment in place on some of my colonies, and it didn't go as planned. And I say that because the hives are left over with one queen and a handful of bees, but that's it. So in this case, this whole entire hive, it has a similar problem. So if you look at that, I've got just a little bit of bees in there. So all of these are empty. That's that. And then of course in here is the honey supers that are just empty. And I have a feeling this is a rock. That's a rock. But down below, I have a feeling I know what's going to happen because I already saw down below is a bunch of dead bees. So I have to clean this whole entire thing out, so you can just stay with me and enjoy this process and see how it goes, what it looks like after winter when it's not as successful as you'd like it to be. How about that? That's some good wording. So in the meantime, what I'm going to have to do is these 2 frames have bees. I am going to have to probably nuke them up. It's supposed to be good weather for quite a long time. That's great. I feel happy about that. However, with the good weather, sure, but does that mean that they can go ahead and keep the rest of this hive nice and warm? Probably not. So I might have to put them in a nuke for a while. Once they graduate from the nuke, I can put them back in here. It just seems like unnecessary space for them to try to keep warm, unless if I was to take some styrofoam that I have from some R1 insulation and maybe put it in between here, and then they don't have to worry about it. So that might be an idea too. But check this out. So same situation as my bees. So they have a bunch of honey, but all the frames are void. So they've eaten all the pollen and everything, but they still have some honey here. There's just a few bees on here and that's it. So that's that one. This has kind of been the way that it's been with all of my frames. Wait till you see this. But this is what happened to me for 2021. It's like 2020 just kind of had its way with the pandemic and just mite treatments with the bees. I mean, I thought that my mite treatments were spot on. I usually use Hop Guard. I take it back. I usually use Formic Pro, and I usually use now oxalic acid vaporization. I had the wand, now I have the vaporization machine, which is cool. But I used Hop Guard 3, which is fine. But I just don't think that I probably didn't do it right, because this is what the effects are now. And this is what you see. So it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, maybe I did something wrong. So I thought I followed the instructions right. This has some pollen in here. They're filling it up really well. So you know there's natural pollen. And then here's all the bees right here. But I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to have to go get a nuke box, and I'm going to have to put them in a nuke. There's no reason they should be in this big, you know, thing. And it's really sad because the bottom down here is just full of dead bees. So it's just something I've been struggling with this year, is trying to find a happy medium. You try not to be sad about it, but it kind of just makes you sad. There's the queen. She's right here. She looks really good and healthy. Obviously she's laying baby bees because they have a little tiny brood pattern, but that's not enough bees. So there's only literally 1.5 to 2 frames. So I'm going to go ahead and have to nuke them. So this is going to be the part 1 of my video. I'll come back and show you part 2 of my video once I get them in the nuke, so you can see the rest of the beehive. But in the meantime, we'll just set her aside. There's not much I can do right now until I get her inside of a nuke box. But I will show you this. It's kind of crazy, but this is what I was left with a couple of my other hives as well. It's crazy. Just thousands and thousands of dead bees on here. So there's only 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frames. That's all they got. 3 frames with some bees, a little bit of brood. But that's it. There's not much else going on. So definitely can't have her in this big old mansion when she can't fill it. And then look at the bottom. It's just tons and tons of dead bees. So this is just disheartening. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this video for now. And then I'll show you what it looks like once I get this all disassembled, so that way you can see what happens. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if I did a mite wash on them, it's going to come up positive with just mites galore. And that's what happened to a couple of my other hives. So I think I just need to stick with the treatment that works best for me, that has been successful, and just not try anything else until I have evidence in my hives showing otherwise. So thank you for watching this, and I'll get you a part 2 in just a few.